Welcome to Pario Magazine, where I chat with individuals who have a desire to create. Today, I'm joined by an alternative indie pop artist hailing from Brisbane, who in April this year released their latest song, Fade into the Background, as a follow-up to their other single, My Own Voice. Welcome to Pario Magazine, WALTA.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure. So we're here today to chat about your journey through the world of music and your recent singles. Before we dive into that part of the story, though, do you want to give our audience a brief introduction as to who Walter is away from music?
Oh my gosh, Volta away from music. Well, I actually am a nail technician, so I do that for work. And I have a podcast where I guess this kind of combines music, but I have a podcast where I bring artists in and we do like nails and we chat about music. But I grew up in the Redlands in Brisbane, which is kind of like away from the city by the water. And I've been doing music and creative art stuff since I was a kid. And literally, like, it's so hard to separate like Walter away from music because it straight up is my whole life. Like, from a young age, I've always been doing it. But the only other thing that like I do aside from music is nails and watching reality TV. And that is literally it.
Nice and busy all the time with
Yeah.
music, nails, podcasting.
Podcast. Yeah, pretty much.
And yeah, you mentioned sort of being hard to separate music from Walter outside of that. I think
Yeah.
that's a pretty common answer I've heard from a lot of different artists in different fields.
Yeah, I feel like I actually had a music project before I started Walter, which is my actual name. And I found that even harder because when it came to branding and PR and how to showcase myself to an audience, I couldn't narrow it down to make it really easy for people to process because it was just me. And like me as a human is like a billion different things. So when I started Walter, I kind of created initially like a really strong color scheme and more of, yeah, something around like coloring so that even myself had a really clear idea of what I was kind of going to sell and showcase my branding as to help other people digest easily who I am. So I've actually found separating my artist name and who I am a little bit easier to disconnect the two.
Yep.
So I can kind of put on a little bit of a persona as such. I can narrow it down when I'm doing gigs, like how I want to dress and how I want to look as a brand. And that sometimes helps me even communicate to an audience who I am. Because before it kind of was a bit complex. It's like I'm human, so I'm like a billion different things, and I don't know what to share and what to, So I found since launching Walter in 2021, it's been easier for me to showcase who I am.
Yep. I think that's a
Yeah.
very important point you've put up, that people need to, before they go into any sort of creative field, be able to define who and what they are before they ask the world to understand
To
that.
understand it. Yeah, I mean, it's still something I'm trying to figure out. And I guess with the Walter project, I've just been able to simplify it a little bit. And it's easier as a human being to look at something as a brand and be like, what do I want this to be? And what do I want people to take away from this? And I guess mainly, aside from like the bold colors and things like that, I think honesty and just being honest with my music and who I am and that as a whole is something that I've really honed in on with the Walter project because it's something that me as a human is very much like as well. But yeah, just simplifying it to make it easy to digest for everyone else.
Yep. So then if we go back a little bit further, how did you first discover this passion for music, and in particular the sort of alternative indie pop realm?
Yeah, I mean I started singing when I was like 7 because I was doing dancing and acting and my mom was like, "Why don't you do singing and then you can do like the three?" But I actually wasn't interested in singing. I was like, "No, I can't sing. I'm not interested in that. I want to be a dancer." But my mom, after a little bit of persevering, she got me to audition and I started singing lessons and I don't know what happened. I came across like Pink when I was 10, the singer, and I think she just changed my whole perspective. I was like, I want to be Pink. And I was just sold that like from 10 years old, like I'm going to be a famous singer. I'm going to do that as my career. And for honestly, like the rest of my schooling and everything up until now, it's kind of been my focus. I think when I was younger, I definitely wanted to be more of like a mainstream pop artist. Like I was looking at artists like Katy Perry and things like that. But when I left school and I started studying music, it was the first time I actually started writing my own music and creating my own stuff. And I started to get into more alternative indie music and listening to different radio stations outside of that mainstream box. And I just started falling in love with the alternative and something a bit different, something that's not so predictable. And it's the music that I listen to now. I don't really listen to a whole lot of mainstream music, like top 50 stuff. I guess it's hard to avoid these days, but I just love listening to a little bit of alternative music. And I think that just really shows in my stuff. I've tried to write pop songs, and every time I write it, I just feel cringy when I write it. And I'm like, oh, this is really cringy to write. And then I just slowly navigate back into something that feels a little bit more comfortable because it's a little bit different, I think. And yeah, it's just where I naturally feel more comfortable.
Do you think
So
that's sort of a bit of the alternative indie stuff generally tends to be a little bit more honest and personal, whereas the pop music is somewhat plastic and manufactured at times?
yeah, I definitely think like, I mean, I think mainstream music obviously can relate to such a broad audience because it's so popular. Like a lot of people listen to it. So it's definitely relatable and it is honest, but I think it's probably more curated to suit a broader audience where I guess when I'm writing my music, I hope it connects to someone else, but I'm not writing it to connect to a mass audience. I'm just writing it from something I've personally experienced and it just is what it is. And if someone else relates to it, I mean, that's the end goal. But I'm not necessarily making it for a mass amount of people to understand. It's just straight from my own experiences, you know?
Yep. So the most recent single, Fade into the Background, can you talk to us about the story behind that song and the inspiration behind that song?
Yeah. This is probably the first song that I've put out that really summarized exactly how I was feeling. It's just that feeling of being overlooked and not really being noticed, not really being recognized. And I think in society these days, like, I mean, we're human, like, we're actually like pretty incredible people, and we all have so much to offer individually. And I just find it crazy when we go about our day to day life in our jobs and just even things like filling up your car and then like paying for the fuel. These like little interactions with other humans, they're so, it just feels like there's this weird disconnect. It's like humans have so much to offer, and we really don't get to see much of each other's talents and what makes them unique or what it is that makes them stand out because we just have these little passings with humans all day, every day. And I think in my life, I've felt a lot of the time just overlooked and I guess wanted to be noticed more or recognized in some way. That's probably why I'm in this field, actually. I think a lot of artists that go into music, that's probably something that they crave, I guess. I don't know if it's a common feeling, but I think even the person that I wrote this with, Melrose, when we were writing this song together, he was kind of writing it from a perspective of not being seen by someone you like, you know, like having a crush on someone and they just never see you and you're constantly trying to impress them or do all the things that you think that they would like and they still just don't even notice you. So I guess it can be taken different ways depending on, you know, what you're experiencing yourself. But for me, yeah, it's just probably my own insecurities as well. People probably do notice me, but it's, you know, within myself, I don't really feel like um I've been seen as much as I want to or have hoped or, you know, so it's kind of a hopeless feeling. You have hope that one day you'll be able to showcase what you're capable of and people will notice it and you'll feel that validation. But you also feel a little bit like you're constantly reaching for something that feels like you'll never get it. So that's pretty much what the song is. Yeah, fade into the background. The opening line is, I know you saw me, but did you see me? And that's kind of like summarizes the song for me. It's like people see you literally, but they don't always see you for the way you want to be seen. So yeah, that's pretty much the inspo.
I think it'd be a little bit ironic now if this song is the song that blows up
Yeah,
and all of a
imagine.
sudden Walter's a household name.
That would be ironic. That'd be funny.
And yeah, you mentioned sort of all the interactions we have. It is a bit crazy to think about all of the people that through your lifetime that you have some sort of interaction with, that they have no, even you
Yeah,
don't remember any of them
yeah,
just because they're, yeah, like at the petrol station or buying
exactly.
a soft
And
drink somewhere.
yeah, I find that crazy. Even like what blows my mind is like I do nails. So I have clients come in every day and I'm sitting with them for, 1 to 2 hours at a time. And because of the amount of people I do, unless I have a client that is coming regularly, the ones that have just come like once, I probably won't remember them, which is wild because we just spent like 2 hours together.
Mhm.
But when you're interacting with people all the time, it's just crazy that we can't, sometimes we don't leave like some memorable impression always, so it's pretty crazy.
And then Fade into the Background was a follow up to your single My Own Voice. Did that have a similar sort of theme of just finding yourself and projecting that out?
Yeah, I think again it just like goes back to that honesty. Like I think a lot of that just comes out in my music. And My Own Voice was kind of like a self-love anthem. About it was kind of about like gender inequality really, and just my experiences in life, but also in the music industry particularly, working with a lot of men and being around a lot of men in this industry sometimes can feel overshadowed, or I probably lack confidence because there's a lot of male dominance that I'm around a lot, and it can feel a little bit daunting and intimidating at times. So that song was kind of me backing myself and realizing that I actually have something to say, and actually trusting myself, because sometimes I can feel like the men around me actually have more of an idea and I should trust them because it seems like they know what they're doing. And sometimes it's actually like, no, hold up. Like, just give yourself some backing and go forth. And so that song, yeah, it's kind of just about me finding my own voice and learning to trust it and, moving forward with that. And then I guess Fade into the Background it's almost the opposite. It's me kind of going backwards, being like, I'm feeling, overshadowed. So it's funny that I put My Own Voice out first as the more empowering one, and this one's kind of more the internal lonely real feelings when you're by yourself and how you really feel, and then My Own Voice is kind of pushing yourself to be like, no, I'm gonna come forward and I'm gonna be confident.
Were the
Yeah.
songs created concurrently, or did sort of Fade into the Background come after you had some experiences with the My Own Voice release?
No, I actually wrote My Own Voice and Fade into the Background 2 months. There was 2 months between the two. It was My Own Voice I wrote in January last year, and then Fade into the Background was March last year. So they were both pretty close. But to be honest, My Own Voice, I was never intending, when I was writing it, I never heard it as a WALTA song. It
Okay.
didn't feel musically something that I would lean towards. But and I started that song with kind of a character at the start, like this rough, edgy character that I sometimes like to put on as a human as well when I'm in a room and I'm feeling a little self-conscious, or, I kind of put on that persona. So I was writing in this persona, too cool for school type thing. And then as the song kind of progresses, it gets a lot deeper and I really unveil like my true thoughts and feelings about myself. And because I went so deep with it into my own story, I was kind of like, I can't really give this song to anyone else. It kind of needs to come out like as me. And it was something so different that I never would have put out. And I kind of made it a challenge to myself to do something different and try something different and put it out. I honestly thought no one would resonate with it, but surprisingly, people actually really got around that song. Yeah, and then Fade into the Background, I wrote 2 months later. And it was like, as soon as Melrose, the co-writer and producer, started doing that keys pattern and the prod, I was like instantly obsessed with it. Like before I even started writing to it, I was like, oh my God, this is like me to a T. This is the sound. This is getting me. So I always knew Fade into the Background was like a song for me. I was so excited to put this one out eventually. So yeah.
Did the lyrics come quickly with Fade into the Background because you loved the music so much, or was it a bit of a work in progress of, I really need to stick to this because I want to make the perfect song for this
Yeah,
music?
I definitely remember, like, I barely posted on Instagram that session. Usually I'm like in the session, I'm posting things, making content, as we have to. And I remember Fade into the Background. The pressure was on because I loved what was happening in the room, that I didn't want to like stray away from it. And I think I was nervous. I was like, I've got to write something that really suits this production because it's so fire that I can't miss. Um, so I think I found it probably harder and the pressure was on. But at the same time, like, I've been working with Melrose for so long and he's an incredible writer. And he just understood the vibe as well. So we were able to get it done pretty quickly. Like, we wrote it in a session and finished it in one day, like the actual writing and majority of the production. I think we added a little bit of guitar and vocoder in another session, but me and him work pretty quickly together. Like, we're really on the same wavelength. We've been working together for years, so it probably is because of that. So yeah.
And how has the response been to the two songs now that they are out in the wild?
Yeah. My Own Voice, again, like as I said before, it got a really good response. And I was really not expecting that. I was like, I'm gonna do something different. I'm gonna challenge myself. It's okay if people don't understand it. That's fine. And then weirdly, it got a really good response. And a lot of people were saying, we need more of this. And I was like, well, this is like not really my normal sound. I was just putting out something left of field just to change it up a bit. So that was unexpected. So I've taken that on board, and um, I've been, yeah, just being aware of that, going to sessions, that I should probably try and hone in on that sound a little bit more because people really liked it and the way that my voice sat in it as well. Fade into the Background, it just dropped today. So I'm kind of yet to see the response, but I'm confident with this one in myself. Like, I really love this song, and I'm not too phased on if other people do or don't, because I just really love it. So I feel like I don't really need that validation with this song, where I probably prepped myself for My Own Voice for people to not like it because I was a little hesitant. So getting that validation was nice. I feel like I really needed that with that one. But I'm not fussed with this one. Like, I love it. So however it's received, I hope other people love it. It's not a big hit. It's one of those ones you can just drive to or just put on in the background and get lost in thought type thing. And I think if people are in that mindset when they listen to it, they'll really get it. And if they're not, if they're at a party or something and they put that song on, they'll be like, what the hell, skit? Like, so I think it's for a particular moment, but I love it. So I'm not too phased on how this one will be received, but we'll wait and see. I don't know.
And by opening up about your sort of personal experiences and emotions and mental state in those moments with these songs, you hoping this will allow other people to sort of be a little bit more open with their thoughts as well?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I feel like these songs almost give me, I don't know if it's validation, but it's like a friend. Like, when I write these songs, because often, like me, when I'm not writing, I'm like all in my emotions, like we all are. Like, we're a bit, my brain's going miles, like running like crazy in there, all these different thoughts, all these different emotions all the time. It's hard to even unpack what I'm feeling. So when I can finally make a song that says what I'm feeling and it's sitting there separate to me as a human, that's like comforting. It's validating to know that someone else feels that way, even though it's me that wrote it. It just hearing the words is like, yes, like I feel instantly better because I have this like little friend or hand to hold feeling. And I think for other people, that's like what music is. Like when you hear a song and it just resonates to how you feel, even if it's a feeling that you don't love, it still is validating. And I think it just gives you like, yeah, a little friend, like a hand to hold, and it's comforting. So I hope that my music can comfort people when, you know, they're going through these things and having these feelings, and validate their feelings as well. So, because the music, even though it's mine, it does that for me. So it's awesome.
Fantastic. And with all of those thoughts and emotions running through your mind, do you just have like a notebook or a list of notes in your phone that are just potential song
Um,
ideas down the line?
I have ADHD medication and notes on my phone. No, I have so many thoughts. Oh my God. Like literally my notes is just full of random shit that I will probably never use. And then I also bombard my partner and my family and my friends with just nonsense constantly. And I have to remind myself to just chill. Just chill. Not everything has to be so deep. Like, let's just keep it really chill. What's for lunch? What's for dinner? That type of thing. Because my brain just goes.
I guess
Yeah.
it's a good thing to have all of those notes. Like at this point, you might not think there'll be songs, but I guess maybe some point down the line, you'll come back and be like, oh no, that's actually now with new thoughts and stuff, I can
Yeah.
flesh this out.
I mean, often when I go into a session, just so that we can start a concept, I just get up something I've written down. And it never usually is what we end up writing about, but it's just a starting point to be like, oh, I have this thing written down. Like, what do we think of this? Like, let's start here. It gives us a starting point. I also think like it's probably a good reason to have a podcast as well. You know, I can get a lot of these thoughts out chatting to other artists, and that's a good outlet for me as well. So yeah, it's probably good I have that little outlet as well.
Fantastic. So looking ahead with these two singles releasing in relatively quick succession, should fans be on the lookout for possible EP, album, or tour in the near future?
Yeah, I am finishing an EP at the moment. I've got one song to finish and I have a session today. We're trying to get it done. We've got this one song that's just been doing our head in because we're trying to figure out, we've got all the pieces to the puzzle, but they're not in the right spot. So once we finish that and we get that all sorted, the EP can start getting into its rollout. I have one more single to drop before the EP, but I don't want to put that out until the EP's done so that I can wrap it all up in a nice little bow and send it off to PR.
Yep.
So yeah, EP definitely, and looking to do more shows once my EP rolls out and goes hand in hand with that. So yeah, definitely a bigger project on the way.
Fantastic. Yeah, you don't want to drop that second last single and then be stuck trying to get that last one out and it ends up
Yeah,
being
and then
a
it's
giant
like,
gap.
yeah, so people can just listen to Fade into the background, everyone. Listen to that for a while until I get this song out, and then I'll send you one more, and then the EP can come out with a nice bow on it.
Fantastic. So finally, where is the best place for people to support you and track your creative journey moving forward?
I think, I mean, Instagram is definitely where I post the most. What even is my Instagram handle? Hold up. I don't want to say the wrong one. It's walta.music.
Yep.
And Spotify, Apple Music, all of the streaming services is where you can find my music. It's WALTA, spelled WALTA, for people who might get that mixed up. I'm also on TikTok, Walter Rockstar, but RCKSTR. So that's where you can find me. And my podcast is called Can We Be Friends? It's on Spotify, it's on streaming platforms. And yeah.
Fantastic. We'll put all those links at the end of the article and on the video. Thank you for taking the time to chat with me, and good luck with finishing off that final song, and we'll see you around the country soon.
Thank you so much. Someone is like literally at my door. But thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I can't wait to roll out some new stuff in the coming months. And yeah.